Hey guys, this is Randy from Voices, the world's #1 marketplace for voiceover. And in today's video, we're gonna go over some ear training for voiceover and how you guys can fix some basic mistakes that you might be making in your audio. With over 400,000 jobs posted on our platform, we've heard the very best of the best in voiceover, and we've also heard some common mistakes that people run into time and time again that lend themselves to lower booking averages. The goal of this video is to help you listen a little bit more intently to your own auditions, and hopefully it'll help you find and address some of those simple audio issues. I've been a recording engineer for over a decade now, and it's my personal goal to get you guys listening like an engineer. We want you to listen critically to your own auditions because the vast majority of the people you're sending these auditions to are ad agencies, production houses, recording studios. They know exactly what they're listening for. So make sure that you throw on a nice pair of headphones for today's video or listen in your nice studio environment. The examples that we're going to listen to today, they're meant to challenge you and they're meant to take a great deal of concentration to spot the differences. So I think you're up for the challenge. Let's jump right into the first example here. So when I say audio production, what I really mean is editing and applying effects. So things like removing silence or removing breaths or adding an EQ or a compressor or something like that. That would be considered processing. And so when a client says they want something that has processing, that's what they're referring to. Should you be adding processing to your auditions? The short answer is yes. We do find that polished auditions, ones that have editing and processing done to them, tend to book more work than raw auditions. That said, you do have to be careful not to add too much processing because you always want it to sound natural and something that the client can work with, not something that they can't undo, if that makes any sense. What is too much processing and what is not enough processing? It's kind of up to you. You have to use your ears. And so it's kind of like the Goldilocks effect. You want to shoot right for the middle, right in that sweet spot where it's not too much and it's not too little. Now in the examples that we're going to go through today, we'll do a dry recording, so no processing at all. We'll do a slightly processed one that I'd consider to be a good deliverable for a client, and then one that's just a little bit too much processing, a little bit kind of overboard. So we're gonna play them in a different order, so make sure you're using your ears to figure out which one is which, and let's jump right into it.
Tune in to the hottest new afternoon radio show, Coming Home with Kara and Sammy, on the Lou's #1 hit music station, Jump 99.9. Tune in to the hottest new afternoon radio show, Coming Home with Kara and Sammy, on the Lou's #1 hit music station, Jump 99.9. Tune in to the hottest new afternoon radio show, Coming Home with Kara and Sammy, on the Lou's #1 hit music station, Jump 99.9.
One of the easiest ways to tell if something's over-processed is if there's complete silence between the parts. Whenever someone stops talking, you have to consider that there's something called room tone. And we'll get a little bit more into this in a minute, but if I stop talking, you can still hear the space that I'm in. You can tell it's a room, you can hear the vents a little bit if you really crank your volume up. But listen to this again. And now this time between speaking, I'm gonna go complete silence. So I'm gonna edit that file completely out. Take a listen to this. Do you feel how that's just a little bit different? It's a little more disconcerting. Your ear gets pulled to the audio a little bit and it makes you very aware of that edit. That's something that we want to avoid. So what you can do is record silence in your room. So just go into your space and don't speak, record some of the silence, and then use that whenever you need to make a clean edit. So let's say you have a shirt rustle or something like that and you want to replace that. The best way to do that is to slide some room tone over that spot. And that's going to help disguise that without pulling the listener's ear toward the recording. Let's listen to these examples one more time. This time we'll just do 2 of the examples, and I'm going to make the differences much more subtle. So let's see if you can spot them.
Tune in to the hottest new afternoon radio show, Coming Home with Kara and Sammy, on the Lou's #1 hit music station, Jump 99.9. Tune in to the hottest new afternoon radio show, Coming Home with Kara and Sammy, on the Lou's #1 hit music station, Jump 99.9.
All right, what'd you guys think? It's tough to tell, right? That's actually because I used the same example twice. Just wanted to make sure you're really using your ears. If you spotted that, I'm really impressed, but let's actually move into these. We'll do all 3 again, this time in a different order.
Tune in to the hottest new afternoon radio show, Coming Home with Kara and Sammy, on the Lou's #1 hit music station, Jump 99.9. Tune in to the hottest new afternoon radio show, Coming Home with Kara and Sammy, on the Lou's #1 hit music station, Jump 99.9. Tune in to the hottest new afternoon radio show, Coming Home with Kara and Sammy, on the Lou's #1 hit music station, Jump 99.9.
All right, how'd you do? Do you feel like you're starting to get the hang of this a little bit? Let's jump into the next section here. We're gonna go over the proximity effect. Proximity effect in audio is something where the closer you are to a mic, the more bass and low end in your voice. As you start to back away, the top end and that bass start to roll off a little bit. So how close should you be to the microphone? Well, it's going to depend on a few different things. How intimate do you want the sound to be? If you want it to sound close, personal, and intimate, like a whispered thing, you're going to want to be really close to the microphone. If you're doing something like, cartoons or animes where you're doing some grunts and exertions and things like that, or you're trying to match dialogue that was recorded on set with a microphone that's several feet away, you're going to want to back off from the microphone a little bit to try to mirror that sound as best you can. Remember, it's always easier to remove things in post than try to add things that weren't there. So being a good distance to the mic, we usually say about thumb to pinky away, is a great place to start. As well, being closer to the microphone helps remove some extraneous sounds, whether it be an air conditioner, a refrigerator in the other room. It's going to help with things like that, but we'll cover more on that topic in just a bit. But let's go through 3 different examples here today. We're going to do about a foot away, about 6 inches away, and about 2 inches away from the mic. See if you guys can spot which one is which.
Once upon a time, in a magical kingdom surrounded by a vast valley, there lived a young squire who dreamed of becoming a knight. Once upon a time, in a magical kingdom surrounded by a vast valley, there lived a young squire who dreamed of becoming a knight. Once upon a time, in a magical kingdom surrounded by a vast valley, there lived a young squire who dreamed of becoming a knight.
All right. So let's shake them up, let's shuffle the deck, and let's see if we can get them right this time.
Once upon a time, in a magical kingdom surrounded by a vast valley, there lived a young squire who dreamed of becoming a knight. Once upon a time, in a magical kingdom surrounded by a vast valley, there lived a young squire who dreamed of becoming a knight. Once upon a time, in a magical kingdom surrounded by a vast valley, there lived a young squire who dreamed of becoming a knight.
So as you can tell, as you get really close to that microphone, you start to get more of that sort of intimate, close sound. And if that's the sound you're going for, that's great. But again, we typically see voiceover artists sitting about 6 inches up to about 10 inches away from the microphone. One little pro tip here is you can get one of these guys, pop filter, which you can clip onto your mic stand. And a lot of people will actually use this to sort of set their distance, and it really helps guide them so they're not swaying too far forward or back. So you just set it where you want, and then you can always remember to get really close to this, and it'll maintain the distance to the microphone. It's just one little tip to kind of keep that distance from getting shorter and shorter over time, especially if you're doing something that's like 3 hours long. You don't want to start off like a foot and a half away, and then by the end you're over here somewhere. So using a pop filter, that'll really help sort of set that distance from the mic. All right, and our last example in this video is going to cover microphone quality. Now, a lot of talent will ask us, what's a good amount of money to spend on a microphone? What's maybe a little bit too much, and what's maybe a little bit unnecessary? And now, really, it all comes down to your ears. Anything that's geared as a vocal microphone should be able to pick up the entire vocal spectrum, from lowest things like big bass voice to the highest things like the S's and the T's and those sort of details in your voice. It should be able to pick up the whole spectrum. What a lower quality microphone will do is color that sound a little bit different than a higher quality microphone. So you may find that it sounds a little bit honky, or it sounds a little bit sharp or shrill or tinny you hear all the time. So what we want to do is find a mic that works for you and for your voice. In the examples that we're going to go through today, I have a USB microphone, which is about $100, a condenser microphone, which is about $250, and then a film style broadcast shotgun microphone, which is about $1,000. So again, let's see if you can spot the differences.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Gold Spotters, the pod all about cutting your teeth and getting noticed in the music biz. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Gold Spotters, the pod all about cutting your teeth and getting noticed in the music biz. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Gold Spotters, the pod all about cutting your teeth and getting noticed in the music biz.
Does this answer your question? Which mic should you buy? Of course not. You have to use your ears and you have to really figure out which one's going to be right for your voice. Unfortunately, not every microphone that's a good microphone is going to sound good on every person. Your best microphone out there might be $200. My best microphone out there might be $2,000. It all depends. You really have to go to the store, try out a bunch of them if you can. You really do have to use your ears and try a lot of microphones. What I can tell you is that after listening to thousands and thousands of auditions through our platform, generally speaking, the auditions coming from microphones that are around the $200 price point and below tend to hinder booking rates slightly. So do with that information as you will, and let's take a listen to those examples again.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Gold Spotters, the pod all about cutting your teeth and getting noticed in the music biz. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Gold Spotters, the pod all about cutting your teeth and getting noticed in the music biz. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Gold Spotters, the pod all about cutting your teeth and getting noticed in the music biz.
One important distinction to make between USB style microphones and the more professional XLR style microphones, even though some USB microphones have really unreal quality and sound quite comparable, honestly, in an A/B test, you might not even be able to tell the difference in some cases. XLR microphones have more features that sometimes our clients will ask for. So things like being able to record up to 96 kilohertz. You can't do that on any of the USB microphones as far as I know. Let me know if there are some that have come out that can do 96K, but as of right now, I believe none of them can. So if you do have a client saying, we need the files delivered in 96 kilohertz, you'll have to have an XLR microphone to accomplish something like that. That said, if you ever run into that situation, it might cost you $300 to upgrade. If you have a client asking for specs like that, they're probably going to be paying you pretty decent for the job, so maybe that's a good time to upgrade your gear. Now, before we wrap up this video for today, one thing that I want to note is that these audio issues don't often live in isolation. In fact, it's usually a combination of 2 or 3 of these different audio issues in some varying capacity that are affecting your audio. Even if you have a great setup, nobody's setup is perfect. And so there's always going to be some sort of compromise, whether it's the distance to the mic or it's eliminating room sounds, or maybe it sounds boxy because you're in a small room. What have you, there's going to be audio issues. So in this last example, I'm going to play a clean sample for you, and then I'm going to play a sample that has 2 of these audio issues that we've talked about today added to it. So see if you guys can figure out which one is clean and which one has the issues, and then probably more importantly, which issues were added.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Gold Spotters, the pod all about cutting your teeth and getting noticed in the music biz. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Gold Spotters, the pod all about cutting your teeth and getting noticed in the music biz.
Well, guys, I hope that this video was immensely helpful for you and that there was some sort of actionable tip that you could take from this, apply it to your own auditions, and start to see that booking rate climbing over time. That's what we want to see. So if you guys want to see part 2 of this series, we're going to cover some more audio issues. You guys can click the link up here. We'll also put it down in the description below. And as always, happy auditioning, and we'll see you in the next one.